Hello, this is Mark, the Humble Upholsterman. I wanted to go ahead and bring you in on a project I'm doing. I've already started this project, but I thought it might be an interesting one to hear about and one that'll make you think next time you order furniture or buy furniture. What I have is this big tufted sofa that that was ordered to build for it was built for a basement area for a new breakfast, or one of those bed and breakfasts. It happens to be the designer showcase house for Tulsa for 2019. So we built this sofa, and I'll show you a picture of it right now. Doorway that I've got to get through is right about 90 inches. And so we're cutting down. Now I want to show you why I'm cutting down a certain amount on this particular sofa. You know, on normal sofas, you know, if you have like a loose cushion, loose back, you can cut down any inch you want without, you know, a great deal of, you know, you just have, because you end up having to cut cushions down and anyway, and the back just, you know, just goes to whatever size. But this sofa happens to be, because it's tufted, it has a button pattern that if you don't cut off one row, or basically two rows, you know, back to the same type that's on the end, then you're talking about completely taking out the back and putting a whole new button design in it that fits the new sofa. So on this sofa, I have the option to cut it down either 9 inches or 18 inches, and I'll show you why. This is the, you know, row of buttons, and they're 9 inches apart. So in order for me to cut this sofa down, I need to cut, this needs to be, this one here needs to take the place of this one here. So that's a 9-inch area that we'll be cutting off, so it'll finish the same as it does on the other side. Now, here's where I've got this so far. Now what has to be done is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and pick an area in here where I can take out these 2 rows of springs, and then, because they're about 9, you know, it's pretty close to 9 inches across there, and so I'll have marks from about here to here that are 9 inches apart, and I'll clear everything out of it. I mean, I don't have to all of this, but anything that's in the way of a, you know, of a saw cutting through those areas has to come out. All the webbing down here is going to come out. Obviously I'm going to take and cut right down this line here. I'm going to cut and separate the springs from this side of the sofa to this part that's getting readjusted, and then all these springs will come out, and then I'll take out the jute webbing coming back and forth, you know, front to back. I'll be able to use the side ones. I don't want to mess with those. I'll just once I take all these out, take these springs off of them, then I can reuse it to finish off, you know, all and stay in one piece. But I'll put new ones going this way. But what I'm going to do, you know, is I'm going to cut from here to here, cut that out, and then I'll be able to join it, and I'll show you how I'll join it with boards on every board part that there is to cut, which would be, you know, this front rail area, this back tack, and the back rail down here, this top back, and then these boards are mainly built to get it far enough down that I can make my roll have a place to staple to on the back. So I've got to cut all the way up through them, and it'll get completely separated, and then I'll put it together and remove them together, and I'll show you the boards that I'll put, you know, underneath this one, underneath that one, on top of this one, inside here on this one, all that rejoin it together. And then I'll show you the process at which we reattach burlap, springs, retie it, and then put decking down, do the whole 9 yards to finish it off. Okay, you can see I've individually cut these so that they're separated from each other. And what I'm going to do is go in and remove them from the burlap. These are called clinchets, and they're put in with a clinchet gun. I'll show you that later when we're putting them back. But we just pull these out. There's 3 on each spring. Had to be removed from the edge wire too. This is the edge wire clip. So now I'm going to go up and take these 3 springs out. All right, the back springs are out now. Now I got to remove this padding up here that helps round this off, and then I'll be down to bare wood, and then I'll start marking my lines for the jigsaw to cut. Okay, as you can see, I've got my edge wire here that's, you know, designed for the longer area, but since we're going to shorten it, what I want to do is you can kind of tell the general distance between a spring is, you know, about this much over here. So what I'm going to do is kind of guess an area about like this far, and then I'm going to cut it off, and then I can kind of bend it off a little bit, and then when I get this all put back together, then I can reuse this what was cut off and cut it off to where it'll come over to here, and then I'll have it overlapped here for about 2 or 3 of these clips. All right, before I make this last cut here, once I make this cut, it's going to be separated. And before I do that, I'm going to go get all my piecing boards. Say like this one, this is a 4-inch. I'll probably go ahead and get some 4-inch and cut it about 10 inches long, so that when these joints slide together, then I can screw about 5 or 6 screws on each side of it, you know, on this side, and that'll lock that. Same principle on this board across here, this one across here, or, you know, there'll be a board back here, there'll be a board here to lock that together. This part here, obviously when it comes to here, I'll have a board that's a little bit shorter, probably about a 2-inch board that comes right across there. And then, but it'll be long, and screw it down in there, and with glue and screws. And then the same thing with this front rail. I'll put a board that goes underneath here and across to this one here. All right, I've kind of got these both sides marked out about where that board will be from behind, so I can drill 5 screws in them. Before I cut this, I went ahead and pre-drilled the holes for the screws that'll come in from this, for the board that comes on this side, for here and here. The board that's going to come on the back side of here, I'm going to screw from that side because this board's too thick to go through that way. So I'll have one there that's pre-drilled. You see it there. And then the same thing with this one here for down here. And then I'll have pre-drilled this board with this one so that when I hook the boards in, they'll be ready to hook together. I've installed my front joint board, this board, the back one, and one of the top ones. And at this point, when my helper gets here, we're going to put a little glue on all those and then slide this all over, start hooking it together. Okay, I now have my boards all installed. Got this one, that one, these 2 boards here. That joint has a little bit of gap, but nothing that's not going to stop me from putting it back together nice. So now it's a solid piece of furniture again. And we just go back to, I'll show you, I'm going to finish the webbing back here. Probably going to add 1 row of springs. We'll see what it looks like when I get, because I think my spring, line will come here, so it'll fit about 1 spring in there. We'll get that all in, and I'll show you, as we go. So now I've got my 2 zigzags back in, or no sag springs, whatever you want to call them. And I've got these strings that lock them so that they don't move too much one way or the other. It keeps them unified. So those are all in, and all I got to do is put my cover cloth back down and then move on to the bottom down here. You might notice that I have 2 strings coming down this front. This is the front, the first tie that gets tied from front to back. And it also happens to be the most important tie because this is the one that has the most tension on it. And this is why I put 2 on it, because of all my years of stripping furniture and reupholstering it and having to retie springs, it all comes down to this string somewhere along the chain breaks. It's always your first tie because it's the one with the most pressure on it. So it's always best to have it locked down with another one and you won't have that trouble. Getting ready now to reinstall the edge wire. As you can see, I've kind of bent off this piece where I cut it. And this, by the time I get it to where I need it there, I'm going to have just enough where I can bend this off a little bit and maybe get 1 or 2 clamps in there, or the clips in, to lock it down. This tool here is a tool we call Jaws. And there's a good reason, because this thing is what crimps those clips around those edge wires. You know, you never want to get your finger in this. I don't know that from experience, but I'm going to bet you don't. You can see I've got it. You can see I've got it joined here and hooked to these springs coming around like that, like it should be. Now I can finish tying this way and do my cross ties. I now have my springs finished and tied in.